Okay, so in today's lesson, we're going to be working on keyboard inputs. So we've been covering a lot of things. We've been creating our sprites and our backgrounds, and we've been programming for it to move. But up until today, we haven't had kind of user input while the program is running. And what I mean by that is earlier we would just hit run, and the program would run however we coded it. Today we're going to be adding another important aspect of video game design, which is the user's input, meaning if we're playing for instance Tetris, maybe if we press a direction we'll move the Tetris blocks or rotate the Tetris blocks. If we're playing like a video game where you have to jump over blocks or different holes or gaps or something like a Mario game, the user would press a button to make Mario jump. So we're going to get started understanding how to set up those keyboard inputs. And here I have my completed code for the last segment, where we're creating a sprite, and I'm going to be pressing the direction to tell the bee where to go. Okay, I've chosen how quickly to move the sprite, and we've worked on the animation to make the sprite turn in the direction that we're moving. So I'm gonna reset the code, and we're gonna kind of look at some important parts. I'm not gonna code everything on this video, but I think going over parts of this puzzle is going to help us get started with lesson 12. So we're going to use conditionals, and we're going to change our sprite's X or Y direction, meaning X, if we remember, is our horizontal orientation, Y is our vertical orientation. So we're going to make the sprite move left and right, but we're also going to make it we're going to change the image depending on the direction they're walking. Okay, and we're going to do all that inside of a conditional. So you're going to understand in the first few problems kind of how to set up the conditional, and we're going to do it right now as well. So let's kind of do the first thing. We're going to start by looking at we're going to create a ladybug, or I think they already have one for us. We're going to duplicate it to have 4 images, and then each of those images are going to point in one of the 4 directions. Okay, so let's start with that, and we'll look at the next set of directions. We're going to click on the animation, and you guys have done this before. It says to do ladybug, so let's do ladybug. I know I did a bee earlier. I'm going to go ahead and delete these. And we're going to start with the ladybug, and we're going to duplicate it by clicking on this right here. Duplicate 1, 2, 3, and we're going to have 4, one for each direction. I'm going to rename it. This ladybug looks like it's looking to the right, so I'll call it ladybug right. This one's to the left. I haven't moved it yet, but I'm going to make it to the left. This is going to be up, and this is going to be down. Okay, so the ladybug right, we don't have to change anything. It's already looking to the right. The ladybug left, what I'm going to do is I need to kind of flip it horizontally. So we're going to kind of look at our options here, and it's going to be one of these two. So do we want to flip it vertically or horizontally, or do we want to rotate it? In this case, we want to flip it or reflect it vertically. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and we're imagining a line of reflection. If you guys remember your math classes, the line of reflection is going to be a vertical line right in the very middle, and we're reflecting it over the vertical line. Okay, so now the ladybug is oriented to the left. Here we want to make it look up. I don't want to flip it. If I flip it vertically, of course, that's not going to work. If I hold Alt to flip it horizontally, it's going to look a little bit weird, right? It just looks like it's crawling upside down, so we don't want that either. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it, and we could turn it by default it's counterclockwise, so it's going this way. And that's probably the direction we want to turn, because I want to turn it so that the head's looking upwards. Okay? And we're just going to say that's ladybug up. And for the ladybug down, we're going to rotate it the opposite direction. So we're going to want it to go clockwise. And to do that, I could click on this 3 times, or I could simply hold Alt, it says right here, and go ahead and do that. Okay, so that's how we set up the animation. Hopefully you guys remember that. We've done that in the past. I'm going to click back on code and see what our next steps are going to be. So we're going to now write code that uses sprite animation to change the image of the bug sprite when different arrow keys are pressed. So let's see what we have in the code already. We have that the bug is going to be created in the very middle. The bug is already set as the ladybug. Okay, if we remember ladybug. We're going to want to change that because I did, I guess it doesn't matter. Actually, no, we do have to change that because I took out the original ladybug. If we had, let me leave this right. If we just left ladybug, we could leave it like that also. Okay, so we could do that. Let's just go ahead and do that since we have that set up. So we have the bug set to ladybug. That's the variable name bug. We're getting ready to draw. We have a white background. Now let's do this first part. If the right arrow is pressed, move the sprite right on the screen. So we're gonna have to use our Boolean or a conditional statement, the if statement. If, okay, well, if what happens? If we press arrow to the right, that's what the directions are telling us to do. If the right arrow is pressed, and I think we'll find that. Where do we find that? In variables or world? There it goes. If we're going to use the key down, if we press the right arrow, we're going to change the up to right. If the right arrow is pressed, we're going to move the sprite right on the screen. And to do that, what we're going to do is I'm going to make a mistake real quick, but we'll fix it towards the end of this video. But what we're going to do is we're going to move the bug to the right. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the X, sprite X. We're going to use the sprite X, so we're going to change the bug.x is going to equal, we could use the math, but we could also type it in. So we're going to essentially want to add bug.x plus 1. Okay, that's going to move it to the right. So let's test this out. So what we're going to do is we've pressed run, and now when I hold right, the bug moves to the right. Okay, and let's go ahead and let's okay, here it is. So we do want to do it so that we have all 4 arrows, up, down, left, and right. So we're going to do, let's just go ahead and do left now since it's the opposite. If the left arrow is pressed, move the sprite left on the screen. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing now. And we're going to go and start with our conditional. I'm just going to go ahead and type it in. I find it a little faster to do this. If we press left, okay, what's going to happen is we're going to, oops, not variable, I'm sorry. What we're going to do is we're going to move the sprite bug.x equals, oops, bug.x minus 1, or we could do plus negative 1. So let's go ahead and test this. Okay, we could hold right, it'll move right, and when I press left, it's going to go left. But now what we notice is even though we're holding left, the bug doesn't turn left. We actually have to use a new animation. Okay, so for the key down left, remember how we already created the bug going to the left, ladybug left? What we're going to have to do is set a new animation. That's what they're saying here. So when you hold left, we're going to set the animation. We're going to do bug.set animation, and the animation should be the ladybug to the left, ladybug left. Okay, so let's go and run this and test it. Oops, run this and test this. Right works, left works, but now when I hold right, it only moves the sprite. Okay, so some of you guys already figured out what we need to do. What we need to do is create the set sprite animation up here as well. So we're gonna go ahead and use the sprite, change this to the bug, and we're gonna do ladybug right. Okay, let's reset. No, oops, did I not name it correctly? Looks like I forgot to name it correctly. Let me just change that there. I'm just going to change it here also. Okay, so I just renamed it. Okay, let's try it again. Line 13, what's wrong with it? Oh, I forgot the quotation mark. Okay, so now when I go right, it's going right, left, and then when I hold right now, since we set the bug animation to the right, it's going to move to the right. So lesson 12 is a really exciting one. I know this is a long video, but hopefully it helps out. Okay, you do need to make sure you do the up and down arrow for puzzle 9 as well.